Now, Lobelia cardinalis is one of my favorite plants because of its color. In particular, the purple coloration on the leaves is just absolutely beautiful to me, and it really does stand out from your normal typical aquarium plants. Now, one of the things I really like about this plant is that it's really easy to grow, doesn't really need CO2, but a good high-grade liquid fertilizer works best and makes it grow a little bit faster. It is a medium grower, so it doesn't grow too fast, but it doesn't grow too slow. So it's just about right. And it does grow by producing runners, so that means it just basically grows along the bottom of the substrate, typical of a foreground plant. So a very nice plant with great color, very easy to grow, and will make a great addition to any planted aquarium. And next is Hydrogrophilia angustifolia. Now, I know I say that pretty much all these plants are my favorite, but that's the main reason why most of the plants on my website are my favorite, is because I've chosen them. The main reason why I choose the plants that I like to grow to be put on my website is because they're very simple to grow and they look great mixed in with the other plants that I sell on my website. So you can kind of tell that I've tried to create a combination that works really well with each other, and pretty much will give the aquarius what they want. If they want a nice bushy background plant, this plant will be nice for them. If they want nice foreground plants, I have baby tears and dwarf hairgrass and things like that. So I've tried to create a good combination that will appeal to a lot of different aquarists that want to do many different type of aquascapes in their aquarium. But just know I will be adding more plants in the future, and I do actually have several different varieties of Hydrogrophilia on my website. But in particular, this is one of my most favorite ones, as I just said, because it does make a really nice background plant. And for those of you that have medium to large scale planted tanks, this will fit in just nicely. It does develop a nice kind of darkish reddish coloration if you have a lot of high iron in your substrate, and it does get pretty large. As you can see, the leaves are very long and skinny, and as it grows and reaches the top of your aquarium, those will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. They don't get astronomically big where, it's going to totally take over your tank and, ruin maybe a focal point that you created for your tank, but it does get fairly large, so just know that. So this will be a perfect plant for tanks that have cichlids in them or large fish that like to peck at plants, because the really large plants like this are really hard to break apart by these different types of fish. Now, I talk about this because most people that have planted tanks, they, have small fish in there, but there are occasionally some people that want plants in a cichlid tank or an Oscar tank, or basically a tank that has large fish. And while it's nearly impossible to find a plant that does go well with those types of fish, because most of the time they just tear them apart, these plants in particular will do just fine. The plants that are bigger, like the Hydrogrophilia you see here, the Anubias, the Nympholia siamensis, those plants that are really big and tough work just fine with tanks like that with bigger fish. So Hydrogrophilia angustifolia makes a great background plant, develops a nice coloration, and will make another great addition to any planted tank. And last on the list is Loguidia repens. For my longtime viewers that have seen the past videos I've made of my 50-gallon tall when I lived at my other apartment, know that I grew this plant in there, and it grew tremendously big. This was actually pretty much the only plant I had in there at the time, and it just totally took over the back portion of my tank. This plant grows in particular really fast, branches out very nicely, and also will develop a really deep dark red coloration if your substrate is high in iron. It's very simple to propagate. You just basically cut a stem off and stick it right into your substrate, and it'll develop a root system. So very easy to propagate. You just need to buy one, and that's pretty much it. You never have to buy it again. But a great plant, great coloration, very easy to grow. Doesn't really require CO2, but it does grow much faster with CO2. I found that kind of only when I did use liquid fertilizer, it didn't grow as fast and didn't develop a nice coloration. But, you can try it just with liquid fertilizer, but I would actually recommend growing it with CO2 because it just does grow so much faster when you have CO2 injected in your tank while growing this plant. And lastly, before I end this video, I just want to show you guys the 80-gallon. As you can see, I set it up, which may be disappointing to some of you guys out there because I didn't make a video about it. But just know it was, oh my gosh, it was a tremendous amount of work. This thing was in my garage being used as a holding tank, and I thought it would work in the garage, but it just didn't. Plants started to melt because of the heat, so it had to be moved back upstairs to be set up here. So that's what I did. And my dad was injured. His back really wasn't feeling that well, but he still helped me carry it up here. I wasn't feeling too well because I was feeling a little sick. I don't know, I got sick from somewhere. And I still set it up. I still fought through it. Stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning setting this thing up, putting Eco Complete in it and all this stuff. I actually tore up my 50-gallon tall, and I used all the Eco Complete from there, and transferred all the plants from there. I still have tons of Rotala and pearlweed that I got to plant in this thing. So it's just been a tremendous amount of work, and I'm just so glad I got it set up and it's done and finalized. And would you believe that I only set this thing up about 4 days ago? Can you just see the water clarity? Isn't that incredible? It just goes to show that when you use things from a previous tank, when you use things that hold a lot of biological bacteria or good biological bacteria, a tank will start cycling or whatever, or just basically get her done. It'll start becoming an aquarium, a successful aquarium, much faster. So if you ever get the chance to start a new tank, I would highly recommend using maybe some old gravel from an older tank, or maybe some old biological media from a filter that's been running on a tank that you've had for a long time in your new filter, because it could really aid in cycling your tank, and it could cycle your tank quite quickly, as a matter of fact, as you can see. So this was set up about 4 days ago, and it's already clear as can be. The UV sterilizer isn't even turned on because I added beneficial bacteria, so I'm letting that grow a little bit in the tank. The UV sterilizer will basically just stop that process, so I have to leave it off for now. But even still, I mean, I honestly don't really get this great of a start with most of my planted tanks, just because the water tends to stay a little more milky, cloudy for a while before it gets this clear, way longer than 4 or 5 days. So I was just in particular really surprised how great it worked out, and how fast this thing cleared up just after 4 days, just because I used old gravel and the same filter with good biological bacteria already in both of those things. So just goes to show that good bacteria in an aquarium is highly beneficial. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned, because the store tour of Jan's Tropical Fish in Montclair, California is coming up really soon. I'll be working on that, and I know you guys are going to enjoy that. I love doing store tour videos, and I think it's just going to turn out great. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out my website where I sell aquarium plants, jacobsaquarium.com. My Facebook, Twitter page, Instagram, Pinterest. I signed up with all those accounts, and I'm posting on all those different social media websites. So whatever tickles your fancy, go check it out. Thanks again, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. Have fun with your tanks, and I'll see you next time.